How are you guys? Just wanted to, this case is getting to me. How about you? Like, is it, in some ways, it's been really, somebody actually said on my timeline, they said, I think it's wrong that I forget how she put it, but it was something, and I'm making fun, but okay. But she said something like, you can't compare Shanann to Gaby. And in some ways we can, because it pulled our heartstrings so strongly. And I was meditating on Gaby last night. So I want to give people a chance to file in, but I'm going to talk about this anyway. Don't you, I when you watch videos, and somebody says, well, I'm going to wait till people get here. Well, what about the people that are here? I'm here. So you count, just so you guys know. So a couple things that are coming forward to me, and especially about Gaby, that I'm going to drop a couple little pearls here, and then we're going to look at the incident report. One of the things that really came forward to me last night, and I was meditating, and I've had trouble sleeping, and I've been like, you guys know, it's been just a very strange, I feel like we're in the, what is it? Wait for it, like the 21st month of 2020 or something. I just feel like it's just this, and I think 2022 is going to be a huge shift for us, but I'm going to talk about that in another video. Let's talk about Gaby. I had a vibe on her last night, and one of the things that I really picked up is that, where it's similar is that this is someone who, she took a risk, and I can't tell you how many people like I've been working with, right? Just, my clients and stuff like that, when they readings or sessions, and what really comes forward is how many people want to take a risk, how many people want their life to just happen, and I think the thing that we can look at with Gaby is that this is a girl that knew what she was going to do. She was going to do this entire van life series. She was going to go out there and grab life. And, even when I'm getting truth bombs, even when you see the early videos of Gaby, she has to remind us, guys, I'm getting truth bombs, but I'm going to say this to you. She has to remind all of us when we were passionate about something, when we cared, when things mattered, when people were important, when Christmas was magical. I think that that's what seeing Gaby murdered does to all of us, is it takes that part of us that goes, because we can look at that enthusiasm and relate to it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I so strongly related to her dancing with her friend, or even going over to her friend's house. In one of the interviews, her friend says, yeah, she would come over when he was in his mood, or, one night they were going out, and he, meaning Brian, and he had hid the keys. I'm sure some of you have heard that already. And, we can look at the other thing that really hit me is when somebody said, and I don't know where this is, but it's been rattling in my brain, that he was hearing voices. And I don't know if y'all saw this, but I'm going to find it, and I have it here. I think looking at his Instagram was very telling. There's one image he has of Fight Club, and I'm going to pull that up in a bit and show that to you. But the first thing I want to jump in on is say hi to a few people, and then I'm going to jump over to the incident report, because something that is very important that I share with you is that watching this case, and I'm sure, police officers have, like I said, they have that bird's eye view. They're right there. They know what's happening. But watching this case as a civilian, right? One of the things that I'm noticing is that it's almost like telephone, this person says this, then this person says this. And then all of a sudden, like, it goes from she was crying to he was beating her, so the stories kind of morph as they go. And I don't know if you have this feeling, but I'm going to tell you a suspicion I have. But remember the girl that came forward and said that Brian offered her $200 to drive her to Jackson? I'm sorry, that's like 10 miles. But the other thing is, he didn't have that kind of money, but did he? Because at that point, and it's just come out, by the way, that the credit cards, or the debit cards he was using were Gaby's cards. So he pulled $1,000 out, and we suspect, the suspicion is, that it's after her death. And so I don't know about you, but I probably wouldn't go to the ATM and take out my boyfriend's money if I knew he was alive. I just wouldn't do it unless he said, here's the pin, go get it, but that's just my own thing. So I want to just welcome people. I'm going to take a minute, but I am going to say that you're going to be a little surprised with what the police knew and what's in the actual incident report that I got. And I am lucky enough to be working with a sheriff who is helping me find the information and telling me, because it's very different here in the South than it is in the North. So it's really fun and interesting to be working with this person. So I do have information for you, and I want to share that in a minute. But first, I want to say hi to a few people. Catwoman, Nana, oh my gosh, hi, Lena, Janet, all the way from Sweden, Karen, hello, Miss Northern California. I know Catwoman, she just said innocence lost. And I think that what it is we all have innocence lost right now, don't we? Think about it. Who can you trust? You can't trust the news. You certainly can't trust what the experts are telling you because it changes like the wind, right? And I just had an incident today that I want to share that has a lot to do with what I'm thinking, in terms of what happened to Gaby. And I'm going to say this. Young women, when I was younger, you guys know I yawn when I'm like getting intuitive hits, but when I was younger, I couldn't express my anger because I was afraid of people leaving me. I know that sounds so bad, but a lot of women have that. We're afraid of somebody leaving, and I think that Gaby definitely showed tendency of that. And when I look at that, that's why we cry. Women tend to cry when we're angry. And I think that's what I was trying to say is like, when I was vibing on Gaby, I just kind of saw her like still tight, in a sense of, this guy got over. And I think the thing that we need to do is we really need to look at what are the signs and what are we teaching in schools? And I'm talking about recognizing inappropriate behavior. We're so wound up with some of the CRT stuff that I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. We also have to look at what do we need to know about human behavior, communication? What are we missing? And so we're going to talk about that in just a second. I want to say hi to a few more people. Mark's World. Hey, Mark, Isle of Right. Alley Cattails, hey there. Good to see you. It's good to see people. I'm really kind of like, first time to get desperate, probably, or not say that. I don't know what that means. First time, whatever. Okay. Sometimes I'm like looking at comments and I go, I don't know. Kelly Nicole, I want to say hi. Carrie. Joseph, you're here. How are you feeling? Gosh, last time I talked to you, you're working at, wait a second. I think you were at Trader Joe's, one of my favorite stores. And when I bought this house, actually, the house I'm in, my criteria was I had to be within 1 mile of Trader Joe's. Don't ask. Anyway, okay. Doug Hovey. Yay. Yep. Thank you. I really love you guys. And I have to say, I really missed you a lot. And part of it was for me that I was just tired of mean. There was so much mean going on where people were just being vicious to each other. And I just got this, I froze and I just like went, okay. And I also felt that there was a lot going on in the world, which I'll share later, but let's talk about my girl. Let's see. I like what Blue Eyed Wolf said. Hey, welcome, Blue Eyed Wolf. Good to see you again. First thing I thought of was Chris Watts. But we do tend to become more invested because we have video to watch. It makes it more intimate. And that's something I want to say too, because, and I'm going to grab the report in a moment. But one of the things that really happens here is that we are invested because Gaby's a part of us. Gaby reminds us of that free spirit we all had when we were younger. And no matter how, even if you came from an abusive family, and I know I had issues with my family of origin, there were those moments when life was magical, and Christmas was one of them, although that didn't last long. But I think for me, what really was magical was that's how I got into cards, because I wasn't allowed to tell stories. How funny is that? My mother was the writer. She was also a drunk, and God bless her. And I don't mean that like bless her heart. I don't mean it's Southern, God bless you. But I think that what happens in those cases is that when we look at somebody like Gaby, who had this like joie de vivre that was beyond, right? And yes, we did get to know her, you know, and I think that that's one of the most magical things we have, is that energy of possibility. And I think that part of it, truth bumps, part of it for me in this last year and a half was I felt a lot like, you know, there were too many outside people just being so mean, and I couldn't do it. Joseph says he's still at Trader Joe's on my dinner break. Hopefully they won't mandate vaccine. Okay, good. But I thought you had COVID. Forgive me. Feeling good and hope you are too. Thanks, Joseph. Good to see you. Let's see. Oh, Allie. Did the Chakra Wisdom Oracle and cards each week with my grandma, because I bought her your set to match mine. Aw, thank you for helping us bond. You know, I'm glad that, Krista, I'm glad you said that. To us it does, not just to you, no mean. I can't stress enough, even in like, you know, when I see it, I just, you know, a lot of times, you guys, I just hide the person. I just take them off the channel, because I don't want that energy coming up in all of us. Because the truth is that the only way we're going to actually survive this time period is to rise above it. You know, my mother used to say that there's an energy where you rise above it. And the energy, check this out, the energy to rise above it, and I'm just going to show you what that is. If you take a deep breath and you imagine that light from the heavens is coming down, and you're just very blessed. That's the only place we accept lighter energy, is from heaven. We don't accept it from any other place, because we want it to be blessed. We want to know that our guides, guardian angels are with us, right? So when you bring down that light, and if you will, a prayerful place, when you go into prayer, you're pulling up the best of you into this space, and the heavens bring the light down. And that part of you, that higher self, is that part of you that believes in possibility. And I think that, you know, and Allie said it, it's really hard to stay above the fray. And it is. And that's why, for me, I've gotten to the place where it's like, no. And I just can't do it. And sometimes I'll just say to people, I can't, my thoughts right now are non-negotiable. You know, and you can say that to people. You know, sometimes we get into such a war about our beliefs and our thoughts and all of this. And what I want to say is, our thoughts are non-negotiable for the moment. And that doesn't mean I won't listen or take it in, but I want to be clear that sometimes you just can't hear what someone is saying. You're in too much emotional pain. And that's something I think was going on with Gaby. So I want to take a look at, if you will, I have the Petito timeline. I'm going to go through that. I think later I kind of want to go to now a lot of you, I want to go to the incident report, which I have. And I also have, which is kind of cool, at least it was in my world, when I found what was it? Here it is, the search warrant. Anybody want to hear the search warrant for his place? Okay, I've got that up. So let me just look really quick. All right, so let me grab this. So a couple things that I want to say about, number one, I am so excited that Dog the Bounty Hunter is involved in this case. I know that's kind of like, what? But I absolutely love him. I think he is just, you know what it is about Dog? He is so spiritual. I love when people are really into God. Like that's, you know, I'm not talking about making you be into God. I'm talking about when people really have a strong faith in their own right, whatever that looks like. And for me, I have a faith. I happen to love cards because I didn't have religion much in my family. I was sent off to church. But one of the things I want to say about that is, when I see what's going on right now, and especially I'm looking for this file, and of course I can't find it. You guys know this, right? Because the minute you start looking for something, it hides from you. Have you ever noticed that? Like, okay. Oh, here it is, the incident report. Okay. So a couple of things I want to say about this incident. When I'm talking about the incident, I'm re-reviewing just a little bit of it because I think it's important information that we go back and look at this. Here's why. yes, we did witness domestic abuse. Yes, we did watch something. We watched something, right? We watched a slice of their life. We kind of went into that slice and we went, how? How did we see that abuse? And I listened to some of these therapists online and stuff, and even the TV people were going, oh, well, you know, it's classic that she was a battered woman, and this is what, and I'm thinking, you know, and you guys have heard me say this, the minute you put how can you say, a terminology on it, when you put terminology on it, you shut the case, it's done. It's an incident report. It's closed, done, put away. Now, the reason I say this to you is because I think it's super important that we continue to go, wait a minute. Okay, yes, narcissism. Yes, this, yes, this. I think Brian Laundrie is actually crazy. Okay? Poo crazy. Okay? I really think there is something seriously wrong with him. And when I say that, what hit me was the one time, maybe you guys heard it, a friend saying he heard voices. Well, I believed that when I saw this piece from Fight Club, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. But first, let's go over to the incident report. Okay. So in an incident report, which let me just see if I can share it. Okay. So I'm going to first talk about it for a minute. As you know, there were 3 cops on the scene. I'm believing there were 2 or 3. Wait a second, 2. There were 2 police officers on the scene, and then I'm also talking about the park police. They were wonderful too. So a couple things I want to say. We had Officer Pratt was one of the officers, and then we are familiar with Officer Robbins, who was there. Now, something very interesting I want to share with you. Okay. This is Pratt's review, and it says MCPD officers were dispatched to a report of a domestic problem that had taken place near the Moonflower Co-op. It appeared that a male and female had left the scene traveling north on Main in a white Ford Transit van with a black ladder on the rear after the male and female had engaged in some sort of altercation. It wasn't clear, but I believe it was reported that the male had been observed to have assaulted the female. I heard other officers report they were off to look for the vehicle, and being that I was about to pass the Moonflower in order to get to Main Street, I stopped there to see if any witnesses were still in the area. Now, this is a very important point because, you see, this is something that really came up the other day when I was talking to a sheriff that I know. And one of the things that really came out was that, and I think this is important, one of the things that really came out was, do you know that things will come into the 911 office, and sometimes, not always, sometimes it will not get reported exactly as it's told. Now, you know, we've heard horror stories about 911. We've heard wonderful stories about 911. And something I want to underline is they do a thankless job, and most police officers are very grateful for the job the 911 operators do. But it's important to say that, you know, it's like here, we hear one thing, right? And then we, you know, and then we hear something else, right? So it's kind of like, the sound is this, but we hear another thing. So sometimes, and you have to take that with a grain of salt in terms of what they're seeing and hearing. Okay, exactly, Allie. There was one female park ranger. Okay, now I want to mention my vibey vibe on Brian. You know, for a while when they were looking in the swamp, I thought he was dead. And then I realized he is dead. He's emotionally dead. He's not physically dead, he's emotionally dead. So it's going to be really interesting to see what he comes up with. Okay, so here's the thing, guys. There are a couple different Chris's. This is the thing that's important. I think, let's see, who said that? Allie, no, boop, boop, boop. I'm sorry, it slipped down, I forgot. Yeah, Angela said, I'd love to hear from some other people from Moonflower. Okay, the Chris who called it in was not the same guy that the police officer wrote the report about. So hold on. I found one witness. Okay, so he stopped at the Moonflower Co-op. He said, I stopped to see if there were any witnesses, were still in the area. I had found one, identified as Chris, and then he blocked out the last name. I took down his phone number and left the scene because I heard Officer D. Robbins tell dispatch he'd located the suspect vehicle near the turn to Arches National Park. I heard him state that upon initiating a traffic stop, he'd observed the vehicle leave its lane and strike the curb before stopping near the entrance to the park. Now, this is interesting because he says here it was reported the male had been observed to, assault the female. And then he asks, he doesn't even ask Chris at that point what he saw. If you notice in this, he's just saying, I took down his number because I heard I need to move on. So what's important here, and I circled two paragraphs here that I want to bring up. This is now, is this still Officer Pratt? Yeah, okay. So Officer Pratt then gets to the scene. And check this out. I arrived on scene and observed. Now, this is really great because you guys, we watched through their body cam, right? Through their body cam. And what's really interesting, and I know I'm interrupting myself here, so I'm just going to say this. What's really interesting about this is that I saw what I saw, right? You all saw what you saw if you watched the traffic stop. But it's very interesting to read what, in an incident report, exactly what the officers see. I arrived on scene, this is Officer Pratt, and observed as two park officers also arrived. I assisted Officer Robbins with his investigation until I was called away to a report of an intoxicated male, and he goes on about something else. Before leaving the scene, I spoke with the male driver of the van, the female passenger, and also, I also talked to the male and the female passenger, and I also called Chris from the Moon place, Moon. Why are they all called Moon something? Store. I also called Chris to get more information from him. Now, this is important because he actually had an eyewitness. So he's not listening to a 911 call. It's somebody who was in the store and physically saw it. Remember that the 911 witness, that call, that person was driving by. So it is a different perspective. So check this out. He says, let's see. And I called Chris to get more information. All three individuals gave me a similar and consistent story, consisting of the basic idea that, hold on a second, the driver of the van, a male, had some sort of argument with the female, Gaby, as I recall. The male tried to create distance by telling Gaby to go take a walk and to calm down. She didn't want to be separated from the male and began slapping him. He grabbed her face and pushed her back as she pressed upon him and the van. He tried to lock her out and succeeded except for his driver's side door. She opened that and forced her way over him and into the vehicle before it drove off. No one reported that the male struck the female. Both the male and female reported that they are in love and engaged to be married and desperately didn't wish to see anyone charged with a crime. There were no significant injuries reported, and both agreed that Gaby suffers from, check this out, okay? It's kind of like all the guys agree that Gaby's the one with the problem. And I'm not saying he doesn't have a problem. Bear with me. I'm just saying how fast women, as ourselves, right? We throw ourselves under the bus faster than anything else. And the other thing is, I'm sorry, but she would have come off like a crazy person. Do you ever notice that? Like, we're hysterical. You know what I mean? And like, the guy's like, yeah, that was her. And you're like, you're ready to explode. But it's kind of an interesting thing in the sense that what we watched here was something that was really, really dangerous. And not from the police officers, but I want to talk about that in terms of things that I think we need to really look at in our own lives too. Okay, and it says, let's see, Okay, let's see. So Gaby suffers from serious anxiety. It appeared that this incident was more accurately categorized as a mental emotional health break than a domestic assault. I had to leave, but I understood that Officer Robbins got the male lodging through Seek Haven. Gaby retained possession of the van, and they agreed to separate for the night. No charges were filed, and no one wished for charges to be filed or for a separation to take place, although that was at minimum that Officer Robbins was required in lieu of making a case against Gaby for domestic assault. Remember, it was Brian who had all the cuts. Gaby didn't. Gaby is a 22-year-old. Okay, is a 22-year-old female. Let's see, who is approximately 5'2" to 5'4", 110, 120 pounds, while her fiance is older, taller, and much heavier than her. He had no fear for his safety and did not exhibit any indicators that he may be a victim of battered boyfriend syndrome. He was assessed to be at low risk of danger or harm as a result of his proximity to his fiancee, Gaby. And then he said, I got, nothing further. Now, I'm going to go back in a second to that thing, but I want to, wait a second. I missed somebody who did super chat. So I want to say thank you. Scott, thank you. Let me see. I was missing your uploads. I agree that you said we are heading into interesting times. I'm calling it the wowing 20s. Ooh, that's interesting. Ooh, Scott, you gave me truth bombs. That's an interesting thing. Excited to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much. And thank you for the super chat. It really helps. Believe me. Thank you. You have no idea. So thank you. Let's see. So a couple things I want to say about that. Now, isn't it interesting that we heard the 911 call, right? Everybody's played it 100 times, okay? It's kind of an interesting thing. And I think, Carrie, you just said, do you think intuitives that have said Brian Laundrie is dead means he's dead inside? Yeah, it could be. I think the thing you have to remember about people that are intuitive, and I'm one of them, is that, we see things, and remember I said that what's in that police report doesn't correlate with the 911 call, does it? Because the guy's saying he hit her, and these other people are saying the guy that the eyewitness on location, also named Chris, did not see Brian hitting her. So this is a very interesting thing when, and I think we have to look at it this way. Our country is so polarized right now that it's very easy to say, look at this side of point of view, then, you look at this side point of view. And I got to tell you, I really, I love Nancy Grace. I like all these people. I think they're great. And the thing that really got to me this time, and this is something that, I'm just going to move back a little bit comfy. This is something I think is super important, which is that they all jumped out and started saying domestic abuse, which, listen, I don't disagree. But I think that when you say that, it's a way to assign blame, right? So it's like, it's obviously the cop's fault, or it's this fault, or it's the issue is that we've got issues that are not being addressed because we give it textbook names. Oh, that's domestic abuse. So that guy should be fried. And if you remember, I was like, well, I don't know yet. And I think that's like meaning about Brian. And people were like, how could you say he didn't do it? And I'm like, well, I don't know enough yet. So I think that's very, very interesting. And Angela just said something interesting too. Her van, her money. He didn't want her water bottle. Oh, this is another thing. He didn't want her water bottles, packaged food. This is so interesting. He was so awkward on camera because he was being fake. I think what he was being, if I'm going to, and I don't disagree. I think it wasn't a conscious fake. I think he really is that gangly kind of like awkward guy. Like, I really think he has no idea of how he occurs in the world. And I think that's really interesting. Okay. I don't know if that's it. They know, like, you make more, more names. Okay. I agree with that. Lori Rhodes, good to see you, baby doll. So the other thing I want to say that I think is very interesting about this case, when I was watching people on TV and all the, I think these people have lost their minds. Now, stop me if I'm wrong, but, I'm watching YouTube crime stuff, and it's much more interesting than what I'm seeing on TV. I mean, yes, they can get people to talk more, they can get, but I'm telling you, is it me, or is it like they're rusty? Meaning, they've been so busy talking about everything, polarizing our country between them and them and them and them, that they've forgotten how to report the news at all. So when we're looking at like this crime, it's just very simple. Oh, well, it's obviously domestic abuse. And it's like, I'm not saying it isn't, but I am saying something here that I think we need to look at, which is, who didn't see this Brian having his own delusions? You know what I mean? Who missed this? Is it the parents? this guy apparently was hearing voices. And I'm going to show you this, which is like, okay, creepy, scary. All right, let me see if I can find this thing. I got from this sheriff I've been working with. I got this thing that, and I'm going to try to find it. I really am going to try and find it. I hope I stay with you while I'm looking for it. But one of the things that I wanted to show you is that I got the some of his, oh God, what's it called? Instagram stuff. Now, this is what I find very interesting about this. Let me just get this over here. Okay. Where are you, girl? There you go. Okay, I'm here. Okay. So I'm just going to grab this because everybody's talking about the other women and all that stuff. And you know what? I think that's just all red herring stuff. Okay. Let me take a screenshot of this and I'm going to show it to you guys because, yeah. Okay. So one of the things that I think is very interesting, and if you go into Crazy, I'm going to call him Crazy now. I'm just going to say Crazy because I don't think there's another name to call Brian. I mean, I just think he's baddie as a baddie. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay. And I know that's like mean, but you know, I do, just so you guys know, I do believe that he killed her. I'm just going to come out and say it. That's my opinion, whatevs, but that's how I feel. Let me just, oh, here it is. Okay. All right. So I'm going to see if I can, I always forget how to drop this stuff in. Let's see. Maybe. I don't know how to drop it in. Hold on. Let me see if it says share. I'll probably be sharing like my medical records or something. Let's see. Ooh, I'm hoping I can. Oh, I know what to do. So hold on. Okay. I'm going to try to make this as big as perfect. Okay. Check this out. Let me see if I can share the screen. Hold on. I'm going to try to, there we go. All right. Yep. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to move this. Y'all see that? This is actually something he drew. Brian drew this for his Instagram. And I want you to notice that obviously this is, you know, Brad Pitt, and it's Fight Club. But check this out. I want you to notice that the dead eyes. And I need to say this because one of the things that I think we always see in people that are, listen, I'm going to tell you, my aunt was schizophrenic. And when she was in one of her episodes, she had that same dead look. They get a dead look. And when I say they, I'm talking about people that hear voices or have serious problems, but who miss that. Wouldn't his parents know this? Okay, so he says, and he uses this quote, which I think is from Fight Club, yeah. Only after disaster can we be resurrected. It's only after you've lost everything that you're free to do anything. Nothing is static. Everything is evolving. Everything is falling apart. Now, okay. What do you think of that? So, you know, I think that it's, you know, yes. And he was reading a lot of crazy stuff too, but I think Survivalist was the one. I don't know, you know, I really think the parents are protecting him, but I think that, you know, I have a suspicion, let me put it this way. I have a strong suspicion, and it's just kind of my own vibe that he does have some kind of instability. And I think, I think he really did go off the deep end. And I really think that in order for him to be so together after the, I want to say the murder, something's going on. Something's not right in Dodge. You guys know what I mean? Something isn't happening there, right? So here's what I wanted to mention. Do you remember, now there was the woman who said he was going to pay us $200 because he wanted to get to Jackson. Well, what occurred to me is that, and I want you to think about this part, is that that's the direction of the airport. They were going in the direction of the airport. And what I was having someone look up, and I didn't have enough time to get to it all, because I'm going to mention two things. Number one is that what if one of his parents flew in? It's possible. What if he was going to meet that person at the airport? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they flew into Jackson. They could have met, come from somewhere else. But I'm saying there are a lot of airports in that vicinity, and a lot of them are small airports. But what if, because I'm looking at him driving that van back from, Teton National Park all the way to Florida. Now, not only is he going down and over, he's got to get across and down. Now, I think that I just have a suspicion, and again, I'm sure the FBI looked into this, I'm sure they're doing this, but I can't help but think that we really didn't see the father a lot. We really weren't seeing him. And I just can't help but think that somebody flew out there. Somebody flew out there to help him get back. Now, I did the math, and you can drive back. I mean, you can make it in, it's about, and he wouldn't be speeding, right? Because he wouldn't want to really get caught. So even driving at a safe rate, probably about 40 hours, which means he had this much sleep, okay? So, when he got back, I think that's when all the plans were set in motion. Now, I also I could be wrong on this, but my vibe was, because it just didn't seem right. Do you remember that? Like, did it seem right to you that that he would offer $200 to go 10 miles? Doesn't that seem like awfully strange? Like, almost, okay, it would be something you would do if you wanted to create an alibi, right? That you want to say, I was in this place at this time. But in a sense, why would you even want to have an alibi of you leaving the scene, not in the van? So there's things going on there that just seemed very, very strange to me. And I feel like there's a lot around that. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's so warm. I'm going to have to put my hair up again. But I feel like there was just so much going on around there that we're kind of like, I just feel like there were things from the moment she was killed. I think, and I know that we've got some information coming in soon about the autopsy, but I do want to say that from the moment she was killed, I honestly think he went into some kind of manic phase. That would be the only reason he could drive for 40 hours pretty much straight. Think about it. Would you be able to? I mean, I don't know, maybe I would be adrenaline rush, but still, doesn't that make, I don't know. Kelly Gal said, do you think like father, like son? I don't know enough about the father. I started doing a little research, and then, I really can't get much on people who are alive. That's the problem. Like, when I'm doing the multi-generational levels, I can do it on family members who are dead, but I can't do it if they're alive. So that's kind of a thing. I think, yeah, he is a murderer. And I think that, I just need to have this shout out to Dog. I just really love Dog the Bounty Hunter. And I just love that, I also really like, who I mean? Oh, God. Okay, you're going to say, like, when you're young, you can make it a long time without sleep. But Anne, think about this. You can make it even longer if you're on adrenaline and have some kind of weird thing going on in your head. Yeah, I think that's the... Oh, yeah. Okay. So let's see. The problem is, hold on a second. Okay, there we go. The problem is, if he does have mental illness, I think the parents had a suspicion, because I had bipolar parents. They knew something was up, but never got me help. I had to take the steps myself. I think that's very true, though, Christina, for a lot of us. And I know for me, like, as some of you guys know, I discovered ADHD almost 2 years ago. And in learning some of the... I want to say executive functions that that are missing from us, from ADHD people. John Walsh, thank you, Angela. I think that one of the things that we have to look at is that taking that time, it's almost painful to kind of, where people go, oh, I'm just going to put my toothbrush away. Like, literally, we don't see it. Like, that's why everything's all over my bathroom. I'm like, how did I do this in 3 days? You know what I'm saying? Like, how did so then I have to consciously put things away. So it's kind of, I think we're looking at a time when, and I really do think that we're going to see we're going to see Dog, and we're also going to see John Walsh. I have a feeling Dog is on his tail. I'm just going to say that, Dog the Bounty Hunter, because that guy knows how to find people. I'm getting truth bumps. I'd love to do a story on him because I really think he's just a really remarkable person. And I think, when we can pull ourselves back from the edge of the earth and make something. Now, truth bumps. I do want to say, and I know I said this at the beginning, but the thing that's very important right now, and the reason all of us, every single one of us, is identifying. Did you notice that this Gaby case became like a national kind of like all of a sudden a phenomenon? Well, what happened was in the last 2 years, our dreams got dashed. Think about this for a second. Some of you had jobs, right? You went to a job or you had a career, or things that were careers no longer exist. Think about that for a minute, right? Things that were actually like businesses can't survive, and new businesses came up. Sorry, it's just so warm here. And then, so what we're really looking at now is how do you reinvent yourself, right? So a lot of people, in a lot of the sessions I do, people, they're coming in and going, I feel like I'm lost. I said, no, you're not lost. You've completed something. You literally declared something is over. And you see, for some of us, we've been in that pattern for a long time of this is the way it's going to go. This is my life. I really like this. I'm going to do this. All of a sudden, boom, COVID. And then we have like in the midst of all that, right? Now, here comes along this heinous murder that I think all of us felt this thing of like, we're going to find her. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there was a part of like that hope where we're going to find her, guys, we're going to find her. And I think that thing, we didn't find her. We did, but we didn't find what we really wanted. And I think that as I say that to you, when I'm working with people, I'm like saying, but you see, we have to reinvent. So we're kind of looking, and you know what the biggest thing people say to me? I don't have that same passion anymore. I kind of feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm spinning a little bit. A lot of us feel that way. Not everybody. Some people are like on it. But I think that what Gaby brought to us is the idea of that we can do it. Like when we were young, we're going to put on a show in Daddy's garage. We'd be like, we're going to play stickball till 3 a.m. There were possibilities of like things that felt like an adventure at the time. And I think that Gaby brings us that. I think she brought us that possibility that here's this girl that like literally had a van, she had a phone, and she had an idea. And boy, is that exciting. Right? Because in as many ways, that's the new American dream. What can we create to give others? And I think the legacy that, that Gaby is getting to leave us is the idea that, are you really living your life? Are you really willing to do what it takes to live that dream that you want to do? And it's very interesting. And of course, you guys know I tell everything, so I'm just going to say that. But let's see. Okay, got it. I think that the angel, yeah, Chris, wasn't that very interesting? The angel, she was in front of that, and I was like, oh gosh, she's in front of that angel. The minute I saw that picture, I went, uh-oh. But you have to remember that, she came to us for a short time, but sometimes parents will say she made her mark on the world and they see one view, but the mark she made, the only way you can leave a mark or make a difference in someone's life is if they relate to what you're doing and they go, that's me. And I think that when Gaby died, it's a reminder. She was murdered, sorry. When Gaby was murdered, it's almost like somebody killed our dreams. And I think, as I say that to you, just breathe and kind of think about that for a minute. And I really would encourage you to kind of look at who killed my dreams. Now I know with all the spiritual stuff, we go, I killed my own dreams. Yeah, okay. But something made us go, I'm not going to do that. And I think what Gaby has taught me is I'm going to do it. Okay, I'm going to, and somebody said, don't compare Shanann to Gaby. But you know what? When I look at, Shanann, it's like she doing what she wanted to do, right? And so I think we all related to that idea. Now, what I think Gaby, and the reason I think she's become so important, is that she has become that symbol internally. And this is why the media is not going to get it, guys. They're not going to get it. Do you notice that? They're going, oh, yeah. And I forget, Joy Reid, don't even start me on her. I mean, ridiculous. She said something about it's white woman missing syndrome or something. And I understand that, and I want to say that. But I don't know the last time Joy Reid did a report on a Black person missing. See, I think the problem is when she's sitting there complaining, like, we put stories out, right? But why doesn't the media put it out? Because it isn't selling tickets for them. And the thing is that's what's wrong, you see? So when we look at it that way, I think that, let's see. Yeah, exactly. Let's see, I just want to look here. Scout inquiry. Okay. Yeah, I did watch Dr. Grande. You know, I think he's great, but sometimes he's so dry that I'm like, you know, I mean, I love him, but he's like, and I'm going to just tell you now my part of what I like, but he's informative. So I do appreciate this. He's staying in Colorado. I felt like another planet. Okay. Now, does that intimidate the man? I'm not sure who's writing some of the stuff. So I'm going to go back to, I want to share with you the other part of, I want to share with you the police report, the incident report, as they say. The incident report, and what I'm getting at is the incident report that that now the other police officer took. Now, remember, there was the guy who said, "You've got this," and he left. Remember that? And then there's the other guy who stayed. And the other guy who stayed was Officer Robbins. So I want to get this. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to share this with you because when we heard the 911 call, going back to that for a second, we heard that, you know, Gaby was being hit, or yeah, the male was striking the female. But check this out. Okay. Here we go. Robin says on 8/12/21, approximately 16:44 hours, I responded to a possible domestic in progress call. A van with both a male and female occupants was reported leaving the area. Okay, here we go. Now, remember, he got to the area. This guy did get to the area because they went there first. And then they were the first ones to leave the scene because he was in pursuit of the actual van. Okay. So let's see, Florida license plate. Okay. Witness Christopher Blank reported seeing a male, later identified as Brian Laundrie, and a female, later identified as Gabrielle Petito, arguing over a phone. Now, this is interesting, over a phone, right? Christopher stated that, sorry, it got a little choppy here. When Brian got into the van, he saw what appeared to him as Gabrielle hitting Brian in the arm and then climbing through the driver's window as if Brian had locked her out. She was trying to find a way in. And then he talks about, you know, locating the actual, the van. He caught up with it. He said it swerved to the right. That was what I don't want to read the whole, it's like, let's see. Okay. So the only occupants were Gabrielle and Brian. It's so funny, you know, when you think of Gabrielle, that's really the angel Gabriel, right? So I kind of like look at like Saint Michael, Gabriel. They're just the archangels. Sorry. So let's see. Okay. Sort of to the right. I just lost my place. So I'm coming back here. Okay. All right. Gabrielle, who was in the passenger seat, was crying uncontrollably. I asked her to get out of the vehicle to speak with me. Gabrielle told me that she suffers from blank with blank. She continued because of her blank and blank. Combined with little arguments she and Brian had been having that day, she was struggling with her mental health, which led to the incident that was reported to law enforcement. Gabrielle stated that when she saw my lights, she hit Brian in the arm to get his attention, which in turn caused him to hit the curb while I was following them. I asked Gabrielle if her intention was to hurt Brian. Her response was no. Let's see. He was behind them with the lights on. At no point in my investigation did Did Gabrielle stop? I keep wanting to call her Gabby. Gabby stop crying, breathing heavily, or compose a sentence without needing to wipe away tears, wipe her nose, or rub her knees with her hands. Now, I think it's interesting because when they were talking, when Gabby was talking, Brian also mentioned when they talked to him, they said to him, so, you know, what was going on. And he said, well, she suffers from, and immediately he says, you know, her anxiety. But then he comes out and he says, well, I have some anxiety. You think, dude? You think? So that was kind of bizarre. Let's see. Well, okay, so I want to address that too. Brian not only took Gabby's phone, he took her van. Yeah. I got to tell you something. This guy, I think that he's doing everything textbook of scaredy, scaredy, scaredy. But let's talk about those parents for a minute. Okay, thanks for talking about that. Oh my God, I'm sorry, but like I get like a mother protecting her son. And I think that's another thing that really got me is in some ways, like I wanted to go, Cindy Watts, you know, like he actually says she's crazy. I know, Michelle, thank you for saying that because I thought that too. I'm like, who are you to say that, dude? Like, you know, crazy is the one who committed the murder. Okay. Now, I agree, Vicky, she needed help and they failed her, you know, but I think there's a bigger conversation that's going on here. I think that we are teaching crap in schools that is so unimportant. And the things we need to teach are the signs of healthy communication, the signs of unhealthy communication. And not, listen, I want to be honest with you, having nothing to do with race. This is an American issue, okay? I just want to say it's like bilateral across the board. Abuse is abuse. I don't care what color you are. I don't care how tall you are. I don't care about anything. If you're suffering from abuse or you're dishing it out, there's definitely something going on there. Just saying. Now, obviously, Gabby had great parents. I got to say, I'm really impressed with her parents. They were really, they were really just terrific people. And I watched the press conference yesterday, and I missed Duty Ron's broadcast on that. I know it's probably fab, but you know what I want to say to all of you is that when that happened, I can't help but go deeper and look at Gabby. Here's this beautiful girl, right? And obviously she found a friend on like, what was that? It was Tinder. What was the thing where that one friend said, you know, we found each other on a like a dating app thing. And I thought, that's really interesting because I think that, you know, he had gotten her so, I want to say shut off, like secluded, that she had to find friends online. And I think that was if you look at the healthy idea of that, of what Gabby was doing, she was reaching out in her world. She was trying to connect through the internet, which I think if we look at her wanting to do the social media, is even more powerful. But I want to say this, that in order for Gabby to think that she loved this boy, right? There had to be something in her that she knew was a flaw that she thought only he would accept. Think about that for a minute. Like, if you think about it, like, if you think you're a broken toy and, you know, there's the aisle of misfit toys, right? What are you going to do? You're going to end up like saying, oh, of course, you know, the aisle of misfit toys, that's where I belong. I'm a broken toy and no one will love me. Isn't that the underlying thing that most people do? So I say, Black Rose, oh, sweetie, good to see you. Oh, yeah, justice for Gabby, right on. Thank you for the super chat. And you're just like a gem. So I wanted to find out how everything went, you know, surgeries and all that, because I left you, right? Let's see. He was so intimidated by her phone. You know, I think Angela is making a very good point here as well. So the thing is that why was he intimidated by her phone? Because you know what? I think he had a burner phone. I don't think he even had a real phone. And if we look at, by the way, his Instagram is almost all Rorschach. What do you call it? Rorschach tests, right? It's kind of bizarre. So if you think about it, there were bats in the belfry. That's what my grandmother used to say. That boy has bats in his belfry. Okay. And that was what it was. Emily, thank you. Emily Fatila, good to see you. Oh my gosh. So, let's see. No way. It's our dumb Beauty and the Beast culture that socializes girl to fix and accept bad behavior. I don't know. I think that's true. But it's more about, remember, girls tend to nurture, right? So if a guy is like, oh, I need help, they want to help the guy. But here's the thing. After a while, a healthy thinking female is going to go, I'm not your mom. Bye-bye, And I think I've got to say that I don't know what this guy contributed other than driving the van, all right? I just need to say that because the reality is that he drove that van, but guess what? It was her van. She had the money in her account. He probably was using a burner phone because remember in the van where he said, oh, I don't have a phone? That was really bizarre. He said that to the cops at one point. He said, oh, I don't have a phone. And then Gaby says, tell him to make sure he plugs in his phone. So I forget who said that, but you're kind of right? Because she's like taking care of him because he's going to forget and it's going to make her mad. I want you to notice, and this is important, what is the exact same moment of like making sure that person does it so that, now think about it, so that they can take care of the situation, so you can make them look good, right? Check this out. Do you remember, and this is where I think we need to look at the cases of, I want to say the decades, right? Because we're looking at like, last decade was for us. And I'm talking about like, it's hard to believe it, right? The last decade was the Watts case. And now we're looking at, and now we see how incredibly batshit crazy he is, right? But hindsight is 2020. We can look back, but I think it's important to have that hindsight. And I think it's important to talk about it because if you remember, there was a Christmas moment where, and this, I'm talking about the Watts case, where Shanann says, he didn't have his phone. Oh, I left it in the garage. And she says, why do I always have to tell him? She's like telling us, why do I have to tell him to get his phone? Well, notice that there was a similar thing here with Gaby. She's like, tell him to make sure he plugs it in because he was going off for the night to this shelter, right? And so she says, tell him to make sure he plugs in his phone. Well, what's that about, right? Well, that's a subtle thing of like, he's going to just forget so that you can worry about him, so that he'll be the focus of your mind, you see? So that what happens is this kind of manipulation starts happening like, where's my driver's license? And then you find out later he took it, right? Or maybe he says he didn't. Maybe it was just in her dresser suddenly. What I'm trying to say is that you look at these subtle things, but someone at 20 and 21, they don't have that capability. They don't see it. And this is where I really feel, and I think I was telling you guys like last week, what I feel about this case right now is that, man, if we don't start teaching in school what abusive personalities do and really spotting them, but and I want to say this might have saved Gaby, right? Maybe not. But what it did do, I think, is it awakened a lot of us to the fact that this girl had 21 years, 22 years, and I'm going to say this, she had more life than a lot of people I know, maybe me. She had that joie de vivre, and she encouraged me in a way, guys, to get back on this because I thought, wow, that girl was really not treated well. And there's something really screwy about this case. And I've got to tell you, Truth Bombs, I've got to tell you, I think we're going to find out more about his mental health going forward. Somebody's going to step forward if they haven't already. And I do have to say, I'm so excited to hear what Dog the Bounty Hunter says. Like that guy can because he just tells you stuff and you're going, like, he's so interesting. And you know what? He's got, I don't know, balls. He's like brave. I love that. Let's see. He's Mr. Barefoot, cool guy, star of the show, storyteller while you stress. Thank you for saying that. Allie just said that. I'm putting it up because I think this is the important part, is that Allie just said something that is like so spot on that I think it gets to the core of it. And let's hit that, which is hit it meaning, yeah. By the way, if you like this video, hit a thumbs up. I always forget to say that. And subscribe. Okay. But Allie, cool guy, star of the show, while you stress. See, that's what they used to call gaslighting, right? It's the old movie Gaslight. It's a famous movie from the 40s, and he would go out at night. He's trying to drive her crazy and dim the gas lights, right? And she would go, the lights were dim, but they come back on right before he walks in because he turns them back up. The point is that when we look at what Allie is saying, it's like, of course, this is what's happening. Of course, this is what's going on, because when we look at it that way, you might be up there forever, Allie. I don't know. Like, I just can't get But what I was going to say is that one of the things that that happens here is that because he gets to be cool, check this out. He doesn't like her being the center of attention. So what does he do? He does something that's going to make her think about him. Now, I did something really crappy when I was a kid. Oh my God, am I going to tell you about this? So my parents were both, my dad was an actor. My mom was just her own crazy. She was kind of cool, but crazy at the same time. And they were going to the theater for Broadway opening. And I was so mad because I wanted to go, right? So I hid the tickets. It cost my dad a lot of money. They were really mad at me. And, I can look back now and go, wow, that's like, you're not leaving me, So one of the things I want to remind everybody of is the person who is crying or who's angry is not the angry one. It's the other person. So when I was watching that, there was that part of me that was going, wait a minute, he's angry. And because he's just like, goofy, oh, yes, sir. And you're going, because when we look at what was going on with Gaby, he was trying to steal every moment, every breath from her. So wouldn't it make sense that ultimately he would take her breath? Because her breathing represented his failure. Think about that for a minute. She had the car, she had the money, and she was even living with his parents. So it just can go on and on. But I think you guys get where I'm going. Yes, Angela said that too. He lied about not having a phone. I guarantee he's got the latest and greatest mommy gave him. He's trying to trick the cop into giving him Gaby's phone. Okay, I agree with you on that. But you know what I think? I think he had burner phones. And I think he has burner phones now. Dog said that the other day, and I think he does. And I'm going to tell you something else that I learned, and a lot of you probably know this. Most law enforcement in cities, right? So if you're driving, a lot of times when you drive by a cop, they have a machine. I forget what it is. It has 4 initials, and I know I'll remember it at 3 a.m. But basically, when you drive by them, your plate is being run. So every time you drive, like every time somebody's driving down the street, if the cops are going this way, it will come up in their, their license. The license plate will say stolen vehicle or something. It will say something about that if there's a problem. So what I'm saying is that I guarantee that the cops now are trying to track his movement from the stolen, meaning from Gaby's vehicle, right? Using her vehicle, he had to drive back because this was something really interesting. And I want to share this with you. Do you know that when he hit Florida, I have this, where'd you put this, my girl? I also have I may just do this in tomorrow, the next day, but I want to talk about the letter the parents sent, and also, because I have it, and also I have the search warrant. I have the search warrant criteria, and I want to go over that. But one of the things that I wanted to share with y'all, hold on, do I have it in here? Please be here. Laundrie search warrant, Petito timeline. I think this is it. Okay. So one of the things that I know, I have this like cool little timeline that here we go. I think this is it, 9-1. Oh, here we go. Brian Laundrie returns to his parents' home at the address in Northport. Neighbors confirm seeing Brian on 9/1/21. Approximately 1 week later, Laundries tell their neighbor, Charlene Guthrie, they are going on a 3-day camping trip with Brian. Laundries leave their Dodge Ram pickup, towing a small camper. Neighbors have not seen Brian since. Now, this is the part where I wanted to, wait a second, hold on, guys. Okay. There is an exact hit. When the van entered Florida, it was at 10, bear with me, it was 10:22 a.m. and it was on September 1st. Now, what happened was the minute it passed one of those license plate readers, it hits that it was that van, right? But it wasn't missing at the time, so they didn't know, right, to look for it at that moment. But truth bombs. Here's the funny thing, ironic, right? The FBI can now go back and find out where that van might have pinged any out of state, if it was in any systems. That's a very interesting way that, so for example, let's say you haven't, that's it. Ambrose just got it. ALPR. That's exactly what it is. It is that license plate reader. And literally that's how, a lot of times like cops will be driving and somebody will drive by and it's like, that's a stolen vehicle. Boom. So what I'm thinking is that they can trace his steps from Grand Teton back to Florida. And what's going to happen there, in my humble opinion, is that they have to look at where he stopped along the way, because he had to stop for gas, right? So was somebody else in the vehicle? What's shown on the film? What do we see? I have to say though that the parents are pretty smart. To lawyer up so fast like that, something's going on. Like, let's see. Okay. Alibis. Okay. Yep. What did Julie say? Lies. Yep. Alibis. Yes. See, this is the thing that we have to remember, is that Brian, I think, and this is what when I was watching Dog Speak, he said, or was it John Walsh? One of them said that they had, with the camper. Come on, seriously, you guys, do you really think that he came back from wherever he went, from Grand Teton after like driving 1 billion hours, and he came back and then he went with his parents on a 3-day trip in a camper? Something's wrong there. Well, you and I both know he never came back from that trip. But what was the purpose of it? Were they setting him up with phones? Where did they get the phones? Were there survival things that were bought? These are things I guarantee that the police are going to be looking at, Hold on one sec. Somebody wants to interject. Okay. Let's see. Some police departments use ALPR to create hot lists. The EFF Foundation has an interesting series on it. Oh, cool. Thank you for that. Okay. And Black Rose just, God, y'all are so smart. Like, I should just like sit here and let you guys do it. Okay. Let's see. Black Rose, here it is. Automatic number plate recognition is a technology that uses optical character recognition on images. Oops, sorry. To read vehicle registration plates to create vehicle location data. That's exactly what I'm thinking. See, I think that obviously this is a lot of man hours and takes a lot to trace it. But I want to just say that this kind of information that we're looking at, these are things now, we've got technology that we didn't even have a few years ago. Now, obviously, when we look at a murder, the other one that was in Colorado, really we're looking at somebody that had, a GPS on his truck, but, felony dumb. He was as dumb as a piece of dirt. Let's see. Something, I think so. Angela just said, and Angela, you're like the star today. Okay, everybody wins one. Angela, you got today. Just the idea of like, he wanted everything she had. See, I think what happens is some people, okay, are voracious. Like they have to have everything. Like, I've seen this with like people who want to control. Now, I've seen some men who are like, I will control everything. And they just are like, they control the situation because they're voracious. They have to have everything. That doesn't mean they're violent, okay? Because sometimes a lot of people go, that's a good guy. So, it doesn't always mean that they're sick. But when you look at somebody who is like Brian, who is passive aggressive, it's a very different thing. There is something that he's hiding. And I think the real thing is that they both had something they were both hiding. And I just want to see, sorry about this, Kate. Carrie, thank you so much. Thanks for the super chat. And it's good to see you again. Sullivan Dowdy. Okay. Carrie, good to see you. And thanks for the super chat. I really appreciate it. And so what I want to do is, let me just say, I think I'm going to kind of wrap up here now. The reason I'm putting a bookmark in it is because what I want to do, and I'm going to have you, I'm going to have you guys think about it. Oh, Laura, did you have to say something really cool? She just said, Laura Newton just said, hey, Tori, do you think he recorded the murder for money? You know, I don't, this is going to sound terrible, but if he did it for himself. But I don't think he, only if we find out that he's truly schizophrenic and there's a vicious murder inside of him. And to be honest with you, I think that's why they are desperately trying to find him. Now, not that they wouldn't anyway, but part of why I think they were looking for him in the swamp is to see if he was dead. But you see, I think that they didn't, what is that thing? And you guys will know better than me. When they fly over and they have that, the heat seeking, right? Because they can see where bodies are buried sometimes, or I don't know if that's possible in the Florida swamp. But what I do want to say is I think when they kind of think he's not dead, now they're worried. Because think about this. What if, yeah, Allie just said, I think if he did it for infamy. Honey, he's already infamous, all right? He's already like, already a pariah. I can't imagine that he's going to last long out there if people actually find him. So he's going to be a lot safer with the cops, I got to tell you. Let's see. Yes, fresh dirt has a different temperature. Teresa, thank you for the, is that a super chat? I don't know what that is. I'm gonna have to look, but thank you for that. I appreciate it. It's good to see you. How's the baby? I hear all about that. Okay. So, what does IR mean, Lena? Oh, let's see. Infrared. Yeah. Infrared. Okay. Michelle said, I hope Gaby wasn't. Yeah, I know. What I do want to say though, is that, I think in a sense that what we're looking at with this young man is we're looking at a real a murderer. And I think the problem with somebody who can be mentally challenged like that, right, is that once they have the taste of blood, would he not think twice about doing it again? And I don't know. I'm not a therapist. I'm not, in that vein, but I can tell you that something is not right here. And I think you all know it too. I would encourage you to kind of follow along a little bit with what's going on with Dog. I think he's kind of like, oh, and John Walsh too, but I like the way they say that. Let's see, get shopping trip info from parents, Walmart. I think that Walmart, anything. Misty just said that, you can get anything at Walmart. You could probably get a blow up doll. I'm telling you, anything. I wouldn't want to be in a room with him, Emily. You know what? I'll tell you what, I think he would be a coward if I think the thing is that he's a coward. I don't think, like, honestly, if you're in a room with him, I don't think he's dangerous. I think you could kick the crap out of him, but I think he has a trigger. And I think something happened where he was triggered. And I think that that's really important that we get that. And here's the thing I really want to look at is like we did when we looked at, for me, when I looked at God bless her, Shanann, and people that are taken from us that we relate to. And it doesn't matter. I mean, honestly, I'm not even saying skin color, all of that. That's why I get so annoyed when they're like, disappearing white woman syndrome. Well, put on a black person. I want to see it. I want to know, wouldn't you? I mean, look at the two boys in California. We're like, what happened to them? I think that the media didn't cover it, did they? So, whose fault is that? Mainstream media or us? Okay, Scott said, sorry, I know this is off. You mentioned something coming in 2022. Can I share about it? I will, and I'm going to wrap up with that, Scott. Thank you for the super chat. Okay, so here's the thing I feel that's going to happen in 2022. First of all, I think you guys know this is kind of like off topic now, so bear with me. But it is on topic. Because in a way, I feel like we're in a massive retrograde now. By the way, the age of Aquarius actually happened in 2020. That is what happened to us. It was predicted World War III, which if the Chinese just did it on purpose, it was an act of war. If it was an accident, then it just happened, right? So I'm gonna let you think about that part. But one of the things I think we're going to see in these next few months is we're going to see things that are not true and honest. They're going to really come out in a big way. And I think we're seeing more and more secrets, being, I think we're seeing more and more secrets be revealed. Here's the thing. All of these planets are in retrograde. They're pretty much going direct between, and by the way, when I said planets, Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, I'll do another thing on that. But they're all going retrograde. In English, what that means is it's a do-over. So in some ways, it can be a very positive thing. We're getting to redo and revisit things that we may not have had a chance to do before. So think of it this way. When Gaby was murdered, right, one of the things that happens is in a retrograde, it brings up for us the thing of like, how am I not living my life? This girl just was murdered, and everything, all her dreams were taken from her like that. I want to honor that life. And I think we, truth bombs, I think we get close to that. So what I wanted to say about that, Scott, and I think the key is that when we start getting into 2022, that's when the planets are going to be going forward. And the things that we repeated in this last year and a half, I think we're going to find that in 2022, and we're already seeing it, that people are taking back their countries. Look at Australia. I mean, it's outrageous what's going on there. The locking people in their homes. It's like, I don't know. It's very bizarre. But I think we're going to see more and more of that coming. And I think one of the things they're bringing more up in the media every day. Yeah. I think the thing that we want to look at now is this is your turn, by the way, everybody. And Scott, definitely a shout out to you on this, because I'm picking up something for you. I'm going to say it anyway, because, what I'm picking up is that there is something you've wanted to do, right? And so what happened was some of it got waylaid. Some of it doesn't seem like it's right anymore. But I want to say to you, please write it down again. In other words, revisit a plan that you had, because it's not lost. It's just different. So when I say it's different, okay, what I mean is that the world has changed. And so you have to adjust it, but it doesn't mean it won't happen. And that's kind of a universal message for everyone as well. Will Brian be found is the question of the week. I have a feeling that I keep hearing he will, but I don't know what that looks like. Rocky just said that. I said that too earlier, Rocky. I said, I think one of his parents helped him drive back. That's what I think. Scott, I hope I answered your question. Everybody who gave super chat, thank you so much. I am going to I'm posting it, by the way. If you go on, on my page and in the community tab, I posted about tonight's broadcast. So I will post in there the next broadcast, which is going to be about the search warrant, because I want to talk about what the cops are really looking for and what they're using at their disposal now, that I think is remarkable. But I think it's important we know as citizens the potential of things being used that could be questionable. But I do think 2022, guys, I think it's going to be finally, we have skipped 2020, 2021. It just didn't happen. So we're going to have like 25 months of this, and then we're going to I have a feeling 2022 is just going to be like, okay. But I do want to tell you, I think, I must say that I do think we could go back to war. And that's another one. So that's another conversation. I'll talk about that in another video. But I love you guys. Thank you so much. Great to see everybody. Jay Turner. Brian probably lied to his parents. Oh, you know what? I honestly think Brian told them what happened. Or he kind of, I don't know. He had to have told them what happened, because that's what gets. Let's wait on that one, because I want to look at the incident report again. Not the incident report. Sorry, the search warrant, which I have. I will have more for you in a couple days. I will let you know when I'm up. And so good to see you guys. I will see you very soon. Mwah! Love all of you more than you'll know. True.